permitting function. So one of the things we did do with the building permits is when you signed up for this, we sent out a survey and we got feedback from people on their top 4. Well, we got feedback on their top issues that they felt with regards to permitting. And so because of this, we wrote them all down and we analyzed them and then we ranked them. And so these are the top 4. So these are the ones we're going to be discussing. We understand that there are other issues. These are the top 4 issues. So these are the ones we hope to concentrate on today. This way, if we can have an organized talk and exchange, it makes it better for us to look at ways to improve these different parts of the process. So the top complaints had to do with the building department overall, specific timeliness, questions, and I'm sorry, I have terrible eyesight, the permit process, and then plan review. And so we're going to discuss them, and I wanted to have this as an open forum. Before I open up the forum, I wanted to first kind of briefly tell you a little bit about the growing pains we've experienced this year, which I think a lot of building departments have experienced. A lot of the industry has experienced where people are moving from different jobs. And so because of this, there's vacancies, and then there's been a need to fill the vacancies. We have been working aggressively to fill the vacancies. And we actually went to the state DVPR site and got lists of engineers and lists of contractors and started sending emails to people and encouraging them to apply for permits at the building department. We sent like a mail out. We've also joined different department groups, and through those groups, what we've done is we've provided like a QR code for applying to work at the building department. And so we have, at this point, we are still in the filling in, and we've hired some new positions, and we're still looking in others, and we have some vacancies, but we're at a point where we think by January, we will have some of the key vacancies addressed and be at a point where people are better trained and able to move forward independently. Right now, we've hired people and we're still training them. So we're hoping that through the holidays, we can get all the training done. And in the next couple of weeks, people can start to work independently. And that's the goal with all the new hires. We've also been looking, one of the feedbacks we had gotten from the commissioner, we've gotten a couple of feedbacks about the comments. One of them in plan review had to do with it being too technical. And so while we must quote the code, we've been working to take our comments and also put our comments in everyday language so that we are quoting the code, because that's a legal requirement, but then also putting it in everyday language so that someone who is maybe not one of the homeowners or somebody else who isn't as technically savvy as the person preparing the plans can also understand where the comments are coming from. So we've been working on those. We're not completely done with them, but we've implemented that change. We've also been looking at how our plan review functions and looking at that and making some improvements with that. And our report that goes out when there's a failed review, the report that goes out used to have all of the reviews. And currently the report only sends the most recent so that it doesn't confuse people by showing them comments that have already been addressed. So those are some things that we've done internally, but I really do look forward to hearing from you. Those of you that are in the room, I'm going to kind of pick on you first if you want to. If not, we'll go to whoever's on the chat, whoever raises their hands and wants to talk.
And we're recording the conversation to make sure we capture the fullness of your suggestions and concerns, and also taking notes. We recorded all.
This is recorded, so you can always get to it through
Can
the
I get-
recording. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's on our website.
Oh, perfect.
yeah.
So I mean, you can record,
I'm afraid to say that if I go first, nobody else might get a chance to talk for the next hour and a half.
well, one of the things, we're gonna start with giving everybody a few minutes
Okay.
and then go through.
My first question is, these jobs that you want to fill, have you increased the salaries?
So we have not increased the salaries.
Well, that's a
We
problem.
have, we have,
You have to increase the salaries. You're not gonna get quality people unless you increase the salaries. My son just got a job at Valley Sports, paying him $50,000 a year, right? That's not enough money to live. He's supposed to live in my house. Okay, so if you want quality people, you gotta raise the salaries.
so I understand that, but that would have to go, in order for me to raise, so we have an average minimum that we've got. The salaries are going up because we had a 2% cost of living. So everyone who got hired
Right.
now just got a 2% cost of living, so our minimum has gone up. We have another 3% coming in April, so I understand your thing about that,
But
but
that's.
we're trying to stick to these topics and you're wanting to go to something else. So
But you just said that you were hiring new people to get over the pains of the last few years. You're not gonna get over the pains of the last few years unless you increase the salaries.
So the reason we've had people leave is because they've retired. People have gotten jobs in other industries. People have gotten jobs closer to their home. And so we've done an outreach and we have gotten qualified people because our salaries are competitive within our industry.
My
Can,
son's salary is competitive also, but it's not enough to live on his own. I don't really want to talk about the salaries, but one suggestion that I personally made to you when you were first hired, you've been here, what, 4 years?
I've been here fine.
5 years, right, and Natasha said, I said, I've been waiting 21 years for this meeting. She said to me, you didn't have to wait 21 years to be heard. I've been heard for 21 years, but I haven't been listened to. And I think I've made some pretty good, valid suggestions to help you, and that was just one about the salaries. I think not offering pushback to people when they make valid suggestions would be a good way towards improving the permitting process, okay? And for probably the last 8 years, I have been suggesting to this building department, 21 years I've been a contractor. Still to this day, with the plans that I have right now pending, I have never passed reviews and gotten my permit back on the first shot. Never. And I probably know more about the permitting process than 99% of the contractors that submit. Right? And one of the things I've been suggesting over the years, this past permit that I'm submitting, I've been told for windows, for bucks and anchors, I have to provide my own inspector. Okay? This is news to me. Okay? It's going to cost me $300 to provide my own inspector. It's not a special application. I'm paying a fee for the building department to conduct my inspection, but now I'm told and I didn't include that in my contract. Okay, and that's as of October 1st, right? I made the suggestion to Natasha last year in July, and I made to you 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and to Lorinda and whoever else wanted to listen to me or hear me and not listen to me. You have the email address of every single person that has ever stepped into this building or paid a water bill or a traffic ticket, okay? If you have a rule change for the permitting process, such as there is a form that you now have to submit, I would have liked to have known about that form. I would have liked to have been provided that form. You send out an email blast to the 150,000 emails that you have on file here. And you put in the subject title, new requirement for windows. You're a plumbing contractor, you see that email, you delete it. You're a window contractor, general contractor, you read it. Now, you need to submit this form before you ask for it. So now when I put all my paperwork together, you did the same thing with the, you dropped you wanted the requirement for the letter from the condo association. Then the condo association letter had to be notarized. Then you realized for some reason that was wrong, and then you weren't asking for it anymore. Then you were asking for the condo letter again. You send out an email blast. So all of my paperwork doesn't have to be submitted and then rejected, and then I have to go back to the end of the line. I'm a seasoned professional. I'm a veteran at this, okay? I have to go back to my customer now with my tail between my legs and say, it's gonna cost me $300. We have to provide And do you know what the general public is saying about the fact, every person that I tell that I have to provide my own inspector? Then I asked someone in the building department, am I gonna get a discount on my permit fee? No, so I'm out $300. Right? So an email blast within the subject title. New requirement for bucks and anchors, you have to provide your own inspector. Here is the form, instead of me submitting everything and then going to the other line. I know I'm being heard, but will it be listened to?
No, so I'm going to double check because whenever we make a change, we do send out email blasts. So I'm gonna double check on that. No,
Really?
we have been checking, we have been sending weekly emails with. So I'm gonna double check on that because I want to,
When you find the email about the new form for your own inspector, please forward it. You have my email address. That email doesn't exist.
I'm not saying, what I'm saying is I hear what you're saying. I'm listening to what you're saying, and I will make sure that we do this because this was the plan. So if it didn't happen, I apologize. And so I'll make sure that this does happen.
I mean, there's always for just a simple set of windows, just in the last 2 or 3 years, there have been 3 or 4 new requirements that every time when I think, oh, I got this down and I'm going to submit my paperwork and I'll get it back with no problems, there's a problem. Another one was this, now if you're in a historic district, right? The zoning and planning department is requiring you to post on the building, which nobody really does anyway. Let's really be serious about this. The building where my office is, and I do a lot of work, there's 444 apartments. And let's say there's 20 being worked on right now. I don't see 20 pieces of paper posted on the outside of the building, but that's a side point because it's a meaningless requirement that I have to jump through the hoop of doing. But it would have been nice if I would have gotten an email saying that now if you're in a historic district, this is the form, it has to be printed on green paper. Okay, and you have to post it, take a picture and send it to the planning department to show that you're posting notice that you're working in a historic district. There was no email. Okay, so now when I submitted the second to last permit or third to last permit application, they rejected it, the zoning and planning department saying, oh, you have to do this. And then you're just wasting 20 days or whatever it is. And you're going back to the beginning of the line. This is not a proper way to function. I'm sorry to inform you.
No.
I told you that 4 years ago. I told you that.
And we started.
I told her a year ago.
We have a tip of the week. We've been sending blasts before we make changes and so I'm gonna, because that was part of the whole plan is like, we don't make changes without making the plan for the future. So I'm going to make sure.
And you put in the subject title, new electrical requirement, okay?
No, and that's
all electricians look.
Yes, I totally get what you're saying. I think some of them are ending up in the trash, but I like what you're saying about with the title changing, because the title change will make the difference whether somebody reads it or doesn't read it. And so I.
Very basic,
Yes.
because it's very disheartening, because just to do simple windows, the paperwork is unbelievable, okay? Between zoning and planning and building and another one was, it used to be when you did windows and doors, you would be able to take the floor plan from the condo docs and just highlight where the window. Now, all of a sudden, you decided that you need an architectural plan. That's fine. But when I signed the contract for that one, I didn't anticipate having to hire an architect, and I took $500 out of my pocket. And now I had to go back to the homeowner who's hiring me because of my reputation. I have to say, well, you're going to have to give me $500 more, because now the city has decided that they need an architectural plan for windows and doors, and he's out the $500, and I have to go to him. Oh, why didn't you know that to begin with? You're making me look bad.
Okay, we're gonna give everyone 5 minutes, so
Okay.
2 more minutes.
I mean, that's three of the last that occurred probably in the last year. Then you can go back with the condo letter and then the construction cost affidavit and all these other things that you keep adding
The
on.
construction cost affidavit was well advertised. It was advertised because that was when we were still pre-COVID. And that one was up in the lobby in signs all over the lobby for months before it was done. And we sent a blast out and we did that. That one, I know we did,
Okay,
because that one took us
that's fine.
months to implement.
Okay,
And
so,
so
but
we
you
advertised
get the
it.
basic
Yeah,
idea,
I
that
do.
you're gonna change something or make a new requirement or a new, and then the guy who's doing the structural review, I forgot his name, oh, this form is required. Okay? Why don't you send me the form? Where do I go to get the form? How do I find the form? Okay, and another thing, your voicemail system, there still is a voicemail system here, right? Right. In 21 years, this is my stat, what do you think, I told you this last year. What do you think the percentage is of people that actually return calls from this building department when you leave a voicemail message? What do you think the percentage is? I'm gonna say 5%, he's saying 0, 5%. Okay, what percentage of the voicemail systems are people on the voicemail who don't work here anymore? Okay, I have a problem with a reviewer, right? I'm looking something up, right? And I look up his number, I leave a message, but he's not working here anymore. His voicemail hasn't been changed, or he changed desks. Okay, the last time I left a voicemail message at the, I don't leave voicemail messages anymore. Okay, having a voicemail message system and not using it is like not having a voicemail message system at all. The last time I left the voicemail system was for the microfilm department, because a client, a prospective client wanted me to do something. I was calling them to see if they had the plans for that. I got a call back 6 months later. 6 months.
Jay, so we'll get back to you
Okay.
after. So we've had someone that has their hand raised and is asking to speak.
Or you?
Would you like to speak?
No.
You're in the room?
Yeah.
I.
No, I'm all right.
I'm going to the room first.
I figured, because you guys made the
Yeah,
trip.
so those are my 3 general concerns.
Thank you. He said no.
So-
We can come back.
We'll come back if
You
you come
can-
up with something. Yeah.
There's somebody there that has their
Their
hands up.
hands up. Okay, Kamal, go ahead and unmute yourself and you have 5 minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Hi, Anna. I don't have my video on, but you know me from Mirador 1000. I was the president for 5.5 years. I'm representing them here as an officer. Also the owner of Bojwani Tower, the property at corner of Lincoln and Washington, which now has the Raising Cane's coming in. I was going to start with a lot of complaints, but I just want to address after listening to Mr. Silver. I want to say what's working at the building department. My experience is not for the permit process, but for example, when we have annual fire inspections and so on, I find that if I email the inspectors, the emails do tend to get returned. I also find that what happens is when I find out who is the right person to contact, I go up the chain, that I do get a response. Okay. I don't think that should be the case. You shouldn't have to go up the chain, but that's the nature of humanity, right? You want something, you got to go up the chain sometimes. So I think that is good. I think the problem that we're having is many of the concerns that were already stated in the previous meetings, right? Where the comments come back in bits and pieces. All the concerns with a particular set of plans are not addressed initially. You get some comments and then you make those changes, you do that work, and then you submit new plans, and then they come back with a comment that was for an item that was already on the original plan. For whatever reason, they don't address all of the comments simultaneously. The other major issue that I have found and let me just clarify what my experience is with this work is the commercial renovations of the property, both as a landlord when we renovated our property, as well as my tenant, for example. One tenant is converting the rooftop to a bar and lounge. He's been in the permit process for over 2 years. Raising Cane's, they have very professional people that I've been dealing with. They cannot seem to get open. It's been they've been in the permit process. I think it's going on 18. No, they got their permits and they've been in the construction process and can't seem to get open because of issues. They correct one issue and then it's like, no, now you need to fix this. And I've experienced that as well when we did our renovation. So I'm not quite sure what the cause of that is, but it brings up a larger question as to, you know, business. It's not easy to do business in Miami Beach. I heard recently that when Amazon signed its first 4-star lease on Lincoln Road, and they are not opening because they couldn't get a CO on time, and so they pulled out. And you know, we are losing ground to many of these other districts like Brickell and Wynwood and so on, because it's difficult to get permits on Miami Beach, and once you do get your permit to even, you know, get open. So I've suggested this to the mayor. I don't know if I've sent it to you. I've suggested it to, I think I have, to multiple people. We need, just like when Mayor Gelber first got on, he got a task force involved to review the proposed work for the flooding to see whether it was sensible, whether what we were doing was correct. I've suggested a task force to come in anonymously, try to file for permits, try to get stuff done, and go through the process from start to finish. Objective, independent people who have experience with this in other cities and other towns and other whatever the municipalities, and they come in and they say, okay, we went through the process from start to finish, and this is what we recommend. Here is where we see you have problems, and here are our recommendations. Because us talking about it is great, but I feel like you know, that's why people go to therapy, because you can't fix yourself. You know, you go to a dentist, you go to a doctor, you can't fix yourself because we're too in it. Yes, you can make, you know, you can make improvements and so on, but I feel like there's something fundamentally wrong with the process, and we can't figure out what it is, you know, ourselves. And we need a task force that will evaluate all of this from the homeowner perspective, from the condo association perspective, from the from the commercial property owner perspective, and from the tenant perspective, because they're all, you know, similar problems, very similar problems. And I hear the same things over and over, but it is seriously causing, it's causing issues. I was shocked when I heard Amazon pulled out of their lease because they couldn't get a CO from the city on time. And I'm lucky with the deal I signed with Raising Cane's, because I knew the problems with the city, and so they were locked in. I said, I'm not, either you take it or you don't take it. It cannot be dependent on when you get a CO from the city. And that has saved us. But you know, how many other people can negotiate that, and we lose value? Raising Cane's, a lot of people are very excited to have it open, and they have the patience to be dealing with this. Smaller companies or less interested companies would have pulled out, which is not good for the city. So that's all I will say. But I also want to say thank you for doing this, and for listening, and for, you know, having an open forum. And can I just say one thing to Mr. Silver? I would put in your contracts with your client, if there's new requirements that arise or unforeseen circumstances that arise, you know, that you have to pass the cost through to them. That's what my contractor did with me. Every time we went to the city and there was a new requirement, I had to pay for it. But
It's not necessarily the money, because you're not really talking about a whole lot of money. It's what it looks like to your reputation. How come you didn't know about this before?
Well, I think,
you know, your license
yeah,
is 01, you're supposed to be experienced. How come you didn't know about this? It's not a question of the money, it's a question of my reputation. And the city is making me look bad by not informing me of the changes, and therefore informing the customer. It's not about the money.
well,
It's about looking professional.
Mr. Silver, I don't want to get into a whole debate about it. I'm just saying we are living in a city where there are known problems, there are known issues, and I'm trying to bring a solution to the table, or proposed solution. There are fundamental systemic issues with the system, and fundamental underlying issues with the system. And I think, other than somebody from the outside with experience and expertise who can come in and who's solution oriented and say, here's where I think your problems are, and your backlogs are, and here's how I think you can fix them. I don't know. We can make incremental changes, but there is a fundamental problem here. You know, there is a major problem.
I like the idea of taking the different permit types or the different project ideas and looking at them. And that's something that is interesting. Obviously, the task force would have to be, that would be something decided by city management and not really decided by me. It would be decided by commission, mandated by city management, and it would be done at a level kind of, above me. But because the permitting process and some of what you're talking about is specific to the building department and some of what you're talking about is not. And so I can work on our processes and the little stuff, the what's in my control. I cannot necessarily make changes on other entities' processes. But I do appreciate that idea. I think that's a valid idea and something that can, would be something that would be worth exploring, because that would look at the entire permitting process. And I understand your frustration because some of it comes back and we've had different issues that have come up from outside agencies, from the county and from the state that have happened from one day to the other. And we've had to adjust with our process and had customers who are in the middle of a permitting process where there's a change in the county policy or there's a change in the state policy that affects their permitting. And so I totally understand the need for transparency and for getting that out. And I like the idea of the changing the subject line and the message so that you know which messages you want to look at and which messages you're fine with ignoring. And that totally makes sense because that is a good idea. We have been doing constant contact, but we have not, I think, been doing the messaging with a specific title on the messages that go out. And I think that would make a big difference to everyone. So I know you feel like we're not hearing, but I'm listening and trying to hear the best I can. And I appreciate both, because the only way we can look at the process is to actually get the feedback from people that use the process. Left to ourselves, we're looking at it internally. Do we do internal audits on our processes? Yes. Do we look at different plan reviews and spot check them? Yes. When I have a complaint from a customer on this has new comments and I get a permit number, we investigate that. We look back at it, make sure, because that's the only way we can get better is when we have that feedback. I look forward to the feedback because that's how we improve. We are spot checking the reviewers, but when you spot check a certain number of reviews, that's not going to get you the whole thing. When there's a complaint and you look at those also, that gives you a bigger pool, because then you make sure, and we do trainings internally. We are switching out to do our internal trainings. We were doing it across all the trades. Now we're going to try to do them per trade and do a cross training less often, so that plumbing is working on plumbing issues and building is working on building issues, so that we're focusing on the big rocks first, and then we can share across the different trades on a less frequent basis as we do our training. Our permit counter and phone section do a weekly training every Wednesday. And that's also so that we make sure that we're not dropping a ball somewhere. And that's what we're doing internally. But that's why I wanted this feedback from the outside, because that's the only way we can actually make process improvements that improve your process. Is there anyone else, or this is a very quiet?
Have you considered customer surveys?
We
Like I go to a
we
hospital.
send one every month.
No, about specific people that help you. When I go to the hospital, they say, oh, this person treated you, it's the first time the person's ever seen me. What did you think? I mean, that could go a long way. Then you can target the individual person. I agree with this person, I didn't catch their name, about the systemic problems. It's a general philosophy, okay? You go to a Steve Wynn Hotel in Las Vegas, the customer is number one. You say to the janitor, I want a cup of coffee, he puts down his mop, he gets you a cup of coffee, okay? Here, that philosophy is not exactly adhered to. So if you send out a customer survey, so-and-so and so-and-so did your planning and zoning review, how is your customer interaction to personalize it so you can go back to that person and tell them, instead of me having to call everybody and telling what he did wrong?
So first off, when we send the survey, the only survey we are sending is about the building department.
Right.
The only department that I can control is the building department.
Well, okay, well, aside from.
On that survey, there's a portion where people write in and can, if they have a specific, something positive, something negative, they can write it in. As far as, I like what you're talking about, I don't have the mechanism right now to do that.
But that's a good way to get to the
Yeah.
systemic problem.
We have spoken about that with our IT team, and it's something that we're looking forward towards the future. The thing is that right now, there are certain things within the, we don't have, what is it that he calls it? And I'm like always bad at those
CRM?
names. The CRM. We don't have a CRM, and that's what you need to have. So that's like this customer module that would know who you are and every permit you touch. So when you call our call center, they go, hey, and they could pop up the last 5 things that you've done.
Because I think taking ownership of the job is really important towards a person not really, just.
Dropping the ball.
Right.
I totally get
I
it.
mean, you got some people, I won't name names, but people still have been working here for years and years and years. Guy puts a comment on my thing and it's not even a sentence.
And that's,
Come on.
those are the ones I need to know so that we totally back up on it, because we don't only want to get out volume, we want to get out volume and quality. So if I give you volume of garbage, I haven't helped you. If I give you volume and quality, that helps you. That's why we do a certain amount of audits on the reviews, a certain amount of audits on the
Right.
inspections, so that we can, so that's the idea, is to go looking for the volume of the work and the quality of the work. And so I really do appreciate,
Because I know I go to the hospital, you go for a CAT scan. We see
Yes.
you went for a CAT scan, how was the technician? They're focusing it in on that person, and that person knows that they're being reviewed, then they're gonna like straighten up.
Remember, the building permitting process, you go through a lot of people. So you're gonna want to receive a survey for each
If you
person.
want to improve the system, why not?
No, just trying to understand from your side, if you would want to be receiving so
Absolutely.
many
Put it in the
surveys.
title. This is a survey about the guy who did the planning review. This is a
Oh,
survey.
yeah,
about
well,
the
there's
guy. And then
6
you can
guys
pick-
doing planning review, right? You have 6 or 7
Right.
reviews, you have the clerks, you got about 2 there, and then the finalization, you got another 2 there. I'm just saying.
Whatever it takes. I mean, you got to improve the system. If the person knows that they're being watched. 21 years I could write a book. I really could, about people who come out and do inspections and nitpicking and things like that. And you're like, you can't even believe your eyes. Listen, I have an inspection. I have to go. Thank you for doing
The
this.
slides
Thank
so
you
that
for
you
listening.
could guide the conversation.
Thank you.
well, go to the next, the slides are all kind of the same, actually. So these were we wanted to stick to the overall, the timeline. If anyone wanted to talk about, because the number one thing we get is timeliness. And so I want to know, what you think we can do, what you're seeing in other departments for timeliness that's working better for you. What, the overall is the types of things he was talking about. And I really wanted to know if anyone has ideas on how to improve the process, because I can talk to other building departments and I can find out what works for the building department, but that's not necessarily what works for you or you.
I don't think fully from a JC Contractors. I'm new to the city of Miami Beach. I usually don't work on this side of the area. Because of this, it's too complicated and it's too far from me, so. But then I got a client who bought a property and the client wants me to do the work for him. But I thought the main problem with the new or not that new system of the city is that nobody knows how to handle it. Architects don't know how to deal with.
So we have a monthly training on our system.
Right, that's what I
We
thought.
have it in person. We had it actually yesterday. So yesterday we had the training, we have it, the,
We do it the third Thursday of every month. We do an in-person training, so you're welcome to come in and we'll go through.
That's basically the big issue with all the complaints we're having. I think the system works good or not great, but better than other cities. But
You just have to learn. how to
we
navigate.
as contractors, architects, interior designers, or pavement runners, we don't know how to deal with computers and
so we have,
uploading, downloading, keeping
But
track
you're
of
willing to
emails.
learn, yes?
Yeah, that's what I thought. The
That's
workshop
what
was
we-
for not complaining, was for learning how to
oh,
deal
no,
with
we did that yesterday.
future complaints.
So yesterday we had a training that was on how to use our system. We have that training the third Thursday of every month, and it can also be done in a fully virtual format if you prefer.
So I'm in the run
This
workshop
one
today.
is workshop to improve the permitting process. What you want is the training one that we did yesterday at 1:30.
So the next group one will be on December 15th. Or you can schedule an appointment for a one-on-one.
No,
anytime
wait,
you
I
want. Okay.
don't have 2 hours to show up every time. I live really far from here, so.
No, but that's why it can be done virtually also. So you can be on your computer and at the meeting at the same time.
I'm a job site guy. I'm not
Okay.
a computer
I-
guy.
I
That's
totally
why I'm having
The issue.
big issues with computers and laptops and all the processing.
One of the things that you must have is a CSS account. You have that?
I have that.
Perfect. So I told people.
That's part of my gray hair.
So you said,
Look at mine.
sorry, December 15th,
Yes.
what time?
Is the next group one. We do it from, we start at 2.
Two, okay. Because because I'm new to here in Miami Beach. And last year I started doing, for a customer here in Ocean Drive. And my partner and I, she was running the permit and, well, she said basically it was, easier than other.
Other municipalities.
Yeah, but the only thing, because I've been working here for other companies supplying my services, but what I don't know is I have been dealing with some inspector that must have a different kind of.
Philosophy.
Yeah. So last week, just to mention this, I saw an apartment that is already drywall installed. The inspection is done, but if you, I can share your videos and picture. I never saw that before because that's horrible, and I don't know how it passed. Now I'm contracting to apply 5-level money. That's gonna cost a lot for my customer, but I don't know how it was passed. Because customer want to sue the drywall installer. But now it's, and I don't know, I can share, I can share with you pictures and now the installer per se, because the inspector has the permit.
That do, you can send it to me to my email, if you don't mind. My email is my name, and I tell people the hard part is spelling it. So my first name is Ana, A-N-A, and the last name is Salgueiro. I'll bring business cards for those of you that are here. Natasha will put it on.
Official. Right,
Somebody's got to be.
okay.
So, Natasha will put it on the chat so that anyone who's on the chat can email me if there's a specific issue, because that's, if you see something and you let me know, then I can follow up and go, hey, but when we spot check inspectors, if we miss one and the inspector does an inspection, approve something, or if it's something that, that's where I need to know.
It's very clear, you're a contractor. You are the man, the boss. Do you think that passed?
No.
Oh my God, that's
Hell
the
no.
most horrible job that I saw in my life.
But
And I have seen inspector
And we
For
have
any-
another hand.
Okay, we have another hand up, so
Okay,
we're
don't
good.
worry. Okay, just
All right, So we have Chance. Your hand is up. Go ahead,
Yes.
please.
Hi, yeah, I'm Chance. I'm an architect working on various projects within the city. I just wanted to express, it can be very difficult sometimes when we get back comments that are very boilerplate and they don't have a clear action item. And very often that's the case. And so you might get a portion of code, it may or may not be applicable. Even if it is applicable, it's not necessarily clear what should be done about it. So I just wanted to bring up that since it's specific and something that can be handled ideally and
I
improved.
agree. And having done, I did plan review for 11 years, and I can tell you that there is the boilerplate code item, and then you have to add a few extra words.
Yeah,
Because without those few extra words, you're not giving the person the breadcrumbs.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
I can tell you something is missing somewhere, but if I don't give you an idea of what's missing, then I'm not helping you get to the thing. And so that's the same. And I always say, we have to give each other breadcrumbs. The reviewer has to give the customer the breadcrumbs, the architect, the engineer, the contractor, depending on the size of the project, give them the breadcrumbs. And at the same time, when you respond to comments, you got to give us the breadcrumbs back.
of course.
So
Yeah, in our
we-
response. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's the only way that this works. Because if I give you a very broad comment and then you tell me addressed on the plans, neither one of us is helping the other one get to where we need to go. And who we're punishing in that case is the homeowner who is contracting with you and just frustrated because they feel like nobody's talking to each other. So that is important.
Yeah,
And we are looking at the comments to make sure, because we have a checklist, but the idea is you should first look at the plans and then you should look at the checklist. And we're working to get people to understand that if you look at the checklist and try to look at the checklist and then the plans, that's not how it works. It works to look at the plans, look at the overall situation, and then see what you note on the plans as a reviewer when you look at it, and then go back to the checklist for reference to make sure that you have the proper code items. That way your comments will be clearer. And I think that's what you're saying is a reasonable request.
I mean,
And
it could really reduce the number of reviews. I mean, if you have a more clear, idea in the beginning to start off with, it could reduce the number of rounds of comments and it saves everyone time in the end.
I agree. One of the things the reviewers do have, all of the building reviewers within their review put their email address, their phone number, and their supervisor's contact information. So if you feel that you're getting reviews that are not good, please contact their supervisor, include me on that email so that we can follow up. Because
Yeah,
the only
well,
way
what
we
I'm
can
saying
improve is when
You
we
mentioned
know.
a checklist. Is that checklist available for architects, for the public, the ones that the reviewers use, or how, do you have anything
Not
like
really,
that?
because it's like a very broad kind of a thing, and it's not, I don't think it would be useful. I don't think it would be, I could get you a copy of it. I don't think it would be useful. We have on our website, if you look at the permit type, there's what are the requirements. That's better than the checklist.
Okay, yeah, because
Because-
sometimes what we do is, we'll look at what comments we've received in past projects and try to project out what other future comments and what to look for. But even that, sometimes, it's not comprehensive. So, I mean, if you have the checklist, it might be useful. I don't.
We have for each permit type on our website, if you look up interior alteration, and then there'll be like a general, it's a little broader checklist, and it says what we look for on each permit type. And that
Okay.
might be something that's more helpful than getting, because the ones we have are like, you're missing this and do this, and it's more like kind of the guts of the code part of it. And I don't know that it would be helpful. I could provide it. I don't think it would be helpful because it's got comments that don't necessarily apply to what you're doing. It's
Yeah,
way
yeah,
broad.
we have to determine that exactly, just like a reviewer would. That's, yeah, okay.
But-
Anyways, thank you. Thank you for your response.
No, thank you. And is there anything else? Because I didn't mean to cut you off. I kind of
No,
did.
I mean, that's really the That's really it. I mean, I think that's the main thing. We have similar concerns, I think, with as everyone else, of timeliness or whatnot, but I think that's been largely addressed and is also hinted at even in this question.
Yeah, that addresses timeliness, the permit process and plan review, kind of all at the same time.
Exactly.
And I think that's a very valid, and that's why the reviewers that work for the building department, and that means mechanical, electrical, plumbing, building, roofing, and structural should all have their email, their phone number, and their supervisor's email on their comments, so that you have a way of contacting them.
They have it.
The structural reviewers, I know, are very good about getting back to the customers. I deal more directly in general with the structural reviewers on that thing because of the way, because of my background. But the building reviewers, we spot check them, and I've seen the phone numbers and the emails on there. Do I necessarily know that everybody answers? I know when they don't, because when someone doesn't answer their phone call or an email, I'm generally included. Or their supervisor is included. And so we become aware when someone is non-responsive. And early pandemic, I want to say the summer of 2020, we had a big push to make sure that people contacted our customers, because we were all kind of locked up. And if you don't contact the customer, that was at that point when we were working 50-50. So we'd be home one week and in the office one week, but everything was closed. All restaurants were closed. A lot of things were closed. And so at that point, we really did need to have a method of communication. And so if you don't respond to the person when they contact you, you're not helping. Now we do have by appointment. You can schedule appointments for specific trades, to talk to the counter, to talk to different people. And you can do the appointments in person or virtual. It's your choosing. So some people prefer a virtual appointment because of the distance. Some people prefer the in-person appointment because they prefer the face-to-face. And so we've done hybrids for some of the projects where some of the team prefers the virtual and some people prefer the face-to-face. And that's kind of what we're doing here. And it's a combination of a little bit of everything, but I do appreciate that. If anyone else?
If there's anything else here.
No, it's all the same stuff, because we tried to stick to the four, because I didn't want the conversation to go all over the place. And us not to be able to actually get action items from here. And I think we have received enough things where we could do some action items based on what we've heard. And that's the idea, is to listen to you and hear what your pain points are, so that we can figure out together. You can tell us, okay, this is how, I submit plans in 18 municipalities, and in this one, they do this. And I have gotten some feedback from people like that. And some of that we've then been able to implement something that they say works somewhere else. Sometimes we can't, because there's, some things people tell us that work someplace else isn't how our system is set up. And I can't just change everything about how we do our process. But some of the things like this type of feedback, just even having the emails, because we do send the blast emails, but they don't have a personalized title. And so that kind of thing, I think those are helpful to make sure that everybody gets something that they need. And what you said about the training, I totally get it. We've been doing the in-person trainings on our system now. We started it early in the
June.
summer in June. So we've been doing them once a month since June, and then Natasha's organized, so she picked the third Thursday of the month. And so it's always the third Thursday of the month. That way it makes it easier. You don't have to necessarily follow our emails to know. And then you can just show up at 2 PM on the third Thursday of the month and then.
What's the amount of people that you get every Thursday for that?
Well, the first one, there was a lot. It's been dwindling down. It's 5 people, 5, 6 people.
Yeah, the first two times
The first
we
time
had,
there was a
we had
lot.
like 20 people in the room.
Contractors, maybe runners, architects,
Yeah.
Yeah,
a mix of everyone.
a mix of
Yeah.
everyone, sometimes an individual owner. And then we've, at the end, Natasha has, when we have the bigger groups, she had extra people to look up case by case, if someone had a question on a permit, to be able to show them how to look things up, where to look things up, and so.
Yeah, I like to
somebody
do
sits
it.
on them one-on-one.
I like to do like open forum style like this, because maybe a question you have benefits him, and maybe something you have
Right.
benefits you, and vice versa. So
Right.
that's what's nice about having the group, because, they'll have different questions. And then, towards the end, if you have a specific case that you need, that you're stuck on and you need help with. that for you too.
Do you have a record, a video of that?
We have training videos on our website. We don't record each one of those third Thursdays because, like I said, they're open forum, they're ransom, and no one's kind of gonna watch all that. But we do have training videos on our.
Yeah, because I can take a look.
Yeah, so once we're
Yeah,
done
but
with this,
it's-
you're welcome to stay and after this, and
Yeah.
I'll show you.
Our training videos are about, we used to have trainings and they were long.
It's-
Our training videos are now 5 minutes and it's step by step
Yeah,
on the computer.
But again, it's like starting in the construction business. If you don't know the lingo from the street, if you don't know the language, it's boring, it's crazy, it's too difficult for anyone
Sure.
who's not smart enough to deal with a laptop or with the system.
I don't know that it's smart enough is the thing. I think what you want to say is comfortable, because you are smart enough. Your comfort is in construction,
Right.
more hands-on.
Right.
And you're not necessarily comfortable with the technology, and I get that.
And I'm not that old, but I'm old school, so I love the in-person kind of work. Go to the city and do the paperwork, bring the plans, permit applications, all that stuff.
So we have that for smaller projects, we still can process things in paper. It takes a little longer, because the vendor has to come, pick up the paper, scan the paper.
Right, I
Bring it
got it,
back,
I got it.
upload
I've been
it.
dealing with that for the last 6 months, don't
So-
worry.
I recommend that if you can learn how to do the upload, you can, even if whoever's preparing your plans doesn't have the digital signature and seal, you can do the scanning of the documents and the uploading, and then you can bring the original and have it verified for signature. And that kind of, so while you're doing this, you request this appointment, so the signature is verified to kind of set that up. Because that's one of the things actually yesterday at the County Board of Rules and Appeals, they were talking about trying to, one of the issues that came up had to do with the digital signature and seal.
Yes,
And a way to do it uniformly, because different cities do it different ways. We literally are following the state guidelines. Like, we went to the state, this is the law, that's what we're following. We're not making something up. What's happening is some of the other cities are going, it's really hard, so we'll just make up a new rule. And it's like, and then people come and they go, well, you could do it like this, and it's like, I really can't, because legally, this is the rule. So we're following what's written in the legal rules. And so we do, that's why we've allowed with the paper plans, if you bring them in, or if you scan them and bring the original in, so we can check it. But the easiest thing is to actually get the digital seal. And right now, I think most people have it. There's still some that don't. And we had like even for the building recertification recently, we had one where the electrical engineer had the digital seal, no problem. The structural engineer did not. So we received, they uploaded both into our system, but then they had to bring the hard copy of the structural papers because we need to see the original. We can't have something being certified that's a copy of something. And that's kind of where I think it does get challenging, and I understand it. And the digital seal has been around. When I started at the county in 2006, in 2007, early 2007, they started using the digital seal there at the county and allowing the digital seal to be uploaded and using a digital plan review. And so, and it's been in state law probably another 10 years before that. So what happened was it was there, but nobody was using it. People used to come here, and I'll explain our old process. They would come, they'd get a ticket, they'd bring the plans, they'd sit in the lobby, wait. When their number was called, they'd bring the plans up to the window, they'd drop off their plans, they'd go to a vendor, they get scanned, they'd come back. That scanning and coming back took 2 to 3 days. Then the plans would be uploaded and then the review would start. Currently, if you have a digital seal and you can upload it, the process between you uploading and us opening the review takes about 2 days. So the timeline is a little bit less than what it was before, but you don't have to sit here for several hours waiting to do it. The average wait time for first service was between 45 minutes to an hour. Now with the online appointment system, when someone comes in with an appointment, they're helped within 5 minutes of getting here because we know you're here, we save time for you. And so I know that not everything is better, and I get it, but that's why we understand that some people need the extra help on the digital process. And that's why we have the monthly meetings and a virtual component for whoever prefers to do it virtually. Because some of the architects and engineers may prefer to do it as a virtual meeting so that they can understand how to do it, but they don't have to come into the city. But a lot of times, especially the contractors and the permit expediters prefer to come in and get a hands-on experience. Is there anyone else who would like to talk? Because I get a little tired of hearing myself.
Don't see any hands raised in the chat. If you'd like to speak, please go ahead and raise your hands.
I just wanted to follow up on that comment I put earlier about bringing up the task force issue to the city manager. And in fact, as I was writing an email to you and copying the mayor and Eric Carpenter about this task force issue, once again, I had a thought, and again, this is above and beyond your department, but the thought I had was if the city could create a liaison office, and when you have a new project, like for the larger projects, the liaison, let's say you have a new business wanting to open, or a condo has a major renovation project that covers many different areas. You'd have a liaison assigned to you who is a city employee, and they sort of help you go through the process so that if you have an issue, you can go to the liaison and you can say, look, Public Works is telling me this, but fire department is saying something else, and I need some help in getting this sorted out. And then, and maybe there is a liaison, you know, who can assist. I don't have the solutions. I think that's one of the reasons why we need somebody outside to come and look at the whole process from start to finish, to say, hey, this is what you're doing right, and this is where I think you should make changes.
No, and I appreciate that. We did have, it's been a while, but we did have the commission had requested that there be a kind of an audit done of the permitting process. And we had a company called Matrix was the one chosen. They did a request for proposals, and the company Matrix was chosen, and they came in and they did not apply for permit, but they did spend several weeks with different departments. They looked at the entire process as far as they spoke to planning, they spoke to public works, they spoke with environmental, urban forestry. They looked at all of that, but that was well pre-pandemic. They, I believe, had 18 recommendations for the building department, of which we've fully implemented all 18. So it's not like we're not looking for the feedback and resistant to do whatever someone tells us is a good idea. And that's why we started we send out a monthly survey about the building permitting process. And we get back the feedback on the surveys. We ask people that have, and there's a part at the end where you can write in extra stuff. And when we get last month I asked the gentleman that sends them all out and organizes them, is if he could look at the ones that had specific, some of the people had complaints about things that we have on our website. So I think they just don't know where to find it. So I wanted us to send those people an email with a link so that they could go directly to that information that they're looking for and they think we don't have. And then we can maybe get better feedback, because if you don't know where to find something, then you're not going to be successful. And so we do look at, and our website, the people that work on our website, specifically the main person that does our website, but the group that puts together our website are not contractors, are not architects, and are not engineers. So that our website is put together by the staff that tries to use somewhat regular language. Occasionally, we may throw in a word because they are building department employees that have been in the building department for a very long time. When we started to fix our website, one of the things I really wanted was to make it so that someone could get there and find the stuff. Sometimes it's hard because you kind of got to click around a little bit, but if the idea is to not make it so difficult to understand that the only way you can understand the website is if you're an engineer.
Right.
So the idea was to have the people we have mostly contractors and architects and engineers in our department. We have a huge support group that is not architects, contractors, or engineers. And so the huge support group is the ones that really do that sort of, that sort of outreach, so that when we're putting something together, it isn't just written in, technical terms. It's written trying to make it understandable for everyone, because it's sort of what's happening now, and it happens in medicine when there are two sets of, when you're taking some new treatment or doing something, there's two sets of criteria. There's one for the doctors, and then there's one for regular people. And so what we're trying to do is have the regular people one be what's on our website and not the doctor level one, because let's face it, we're not all thinking in that way. And so we try to make it as broad as possible. I don't know. I feel bad that we're gonna have to finish this early if no one else has.
Yeah.
Does anyone really have anything? And I appreciate that feedback. I like the idea. There has been, one of the things that was mentioned, that's the only thing that hasn't been implemented, was the permitting ombudsman.
Which is similar to liaison.
Which is similar to a liaison. That would have to be somebody above the building department. It would be somebody from the city management office, because they would be overseeing several different parts of permitting. So it should be someone that comes from the management office. I did, and I see the point of having someone who's a liaison, not necessarily like a concierge service, but someone that it's easier for somebody to reach out to that person. Somebody else has their hand up?
Yeah, we got 2 hands up.
Oh, good.
Well, and just to that point, I think the tricky part with the liaison is that you could be a liaison, but if you're having code issues and review.
No, you'll have to meet,
You still have to.
the
go through that.
liaison can coordinate the meeting, but you will have to have a meeting if there is something in Florida Fire Prevention Code that is in conflict with something with building code, you're gonna have to set up a meeting. Usually between building and fire, we've been doing meetings together for a while now because on larger projects, because there really are things that are stricter in one code and things that are stricter in another. So but that's what the liaison would not necessarily solve the problem, but they would get the people to the table. That's what we try to do. We have a 3-time review meeting, but maybe somebody wants to reach out sooner than the 3-time review. We also do pre-submittal meetings on larger projects where before they've submitted documents for the first time, we set up a meeting with the design team and our chiefs to look at, not to do a review, but to discuss things. And things come up during those meetings that hopefully help the project as it moves along. So let's go to the hands.
Tim Carr, please unmute.
Yes, hi, good afternoon. This is Tim Carr, the Bentley Bay Condo. I just want to thank you again for taking time to put this on today. Again, I worked with Brian Garces, the aide for Commissioner Fernandez, in reference to this. Again, I think we've had some really good comments today, in particular regarding kind of an outside audit process to continue to improve the workflow process here. So if we could, seriously consider options like that. I know you're doing things internally as well, and then continue to circle back and we can continue to work together to track our progress. It would greatly be appreciated. So again, thank you for putting this together, and again, look forward to some continued progress in this process.
Thank you for that feedback. I really do appreciate it. And then,
Next one is Brian Garces.
oh, Brian,
Hey, Anna, can you hear me?
yes.
So, Anna, first of all, and to anyone else that's listening, let me introduce myself quickly. My name is Brian Garces. I'm the new aide to Vice Mayor Fernandez. And first of all, Anna, I want to thank you for doing this because it's not easy for the building official to, open themselves up to this type of, very raw feedback that the public is getting. And for her to have this dialogue with the public is really, really great. That you don't really see too many building officials do that. So I hope that the public appreciates that. I listened to a lot of the comments, a lot of the complaints, a lot of the praises, which I've also experienced myself working with constituents and talking to the public and my own interactions with the building department. There's work that obviously needs to be done, but there's also a lot of good going on there too, which is important to know. But I'm gonna text my email in this chat, and if anybody has any questions or concerns in regards to the permitting process and following up on what's been discussed in this meeting, please feel free to reach me at any time, and I'll be more than happy to help you. And Anna, I met with Anna for about 3 hours one day, and she is absolutely forward in trying to give the public as good of an experience as possible. So you do have a building official that is trying, that's working to make sure that there is going to be improvement. And, and Vice Mayor Fernandez is very passionate in making sure that happens as well. So if there's anything that the public needs, or if there's anything that you need to make some of the things happen as a result of what was discussed here, you have an ally with me. So let me know.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So if no one else has anything, if you want Natasha to show a little bit on how things work, if anyone is not interested in that, you're more than happy to log off. If not, you can stay on. And we'll do something a little bit different and
Some
sort of
training.
do like a pre of that other meeting, because you're already here.
I
And
want
that-
to, Anna, I just want to echo Brian's comments. Because I know a lot of people don't appreciate that all cities don't do this. So I just want to say thank you. I am going to log off, but I did want to say, I think I said before as well, but I want to echo Tim's and Brian's comments. This is very unusual. The level of, the one thing I'll say about the city of Miami Beach is it's so open. Like you can just show up and speak to a commissioner or the mayor or a building department official. And that is very unusual. And I don't know how much of the public appreciates it, but I for one appreciate it. Now, if you guys will just do what we ask, then everything would be great, but just kidding. Anyway,
We
thank
really try, we really,
I
really
know, I
try.
know.
We try to.
We wake up every day and we try our best.
And I know you do because I've had meetings with you before
Yeah.
on my project, and I know you try, and that's why I keep prefacing everything I say that a lot of this goes beyond the building department, because you know what a lot of the problems here are just the whole permit process from start to finish, which is not just your department. But thank you again, and I'm gonna log off, and I just wanted to echo Brian's and Tim's comments. And Brian, I'm gonna forward you that email that I had sent to Anna and the mayor and about that task force and the liaison.
Yeah, I saw it. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye. All right, so
We'll switch.
since you're here, we'll take some
Yeah.
time to do some training.
I don't think we have any, the city has any problem or the system doesn't work, anything like that. It's just both sides, us, you. You have, I guess, 100 emails every morning in your laptop. I have another same amount probably plus family, husband, kids, wife, and that makes it really hard. So it's not the system, it's us that we don't learn how to deal with new stuff.
And it's one of the things that happens is depending on, you work here and you also work City of Miami. And I'm assuming you do Dade County.
Right, that's what
And
I'm saying.
assuming
So
you do.
complaining is
So
not
every
that,
system is different.
right.
So I want to get the feedback on our system, because sometimes I'll get from people, you should use the same permit process that the county uses. I worked at the county for 11 years. The permit,
Dade County?
yeah.
Mhm.
So the plan review program that the county uses is actually a program that was written in the 70s. And then there's 1,000 different programs that are stuck to it. So it's not like you're gonna get something out of the box and I can get the county system. Is to get the county system, it's 1,000 pieces of software, and no one here knows how to deal with it and fix it, and the county doesn't sell it and do with it. So it's not like we could just, use the county system. Some of the stuff in the county system is very automated, and I like. Some of the stuff in the county system is very automated and I don't like. For example, when you get back your drawings that are approved from the county, in the middle of approved drawings, you get voided, you get disapproved, you get everything. The county vomits back every drawing you get. Our system, you give us all of your plumbing drawings in one file, all of these, all of those. So whenever you make a change in plumbing, you bring back the plumbing sheet. So at the end, you only get back the approved sheets. So I like that part better than the county system. But that means that human beings have to do the sorting and the finalizing because
Right.
it needs someone to think. So can there be a mistake be made? Yes, because it's a person. At the county, you send something and you send another thing, and at the end it's like, here, and you get everything back. And then you have to sort it, because if not, the inspector may not be able to pass the inspection because you have to pick out which is the sheet that's approved. So that's a thing that I think we have that's better, but go ahead. Natasha, do your little trading. Sorry, and let me not call it little trading day because it's like a big deal.
Well, so I usually start with the building website, so I don't know if you're familiar with that yet, but just to point out a few things. Here we have that survey that, we mentioned to Mr. Silver earlier, that you can always click on and submit your comments, your concerns, or whatever feedback you have, you can do that there. Then we talked about appointments. This is where you book appointments. We talked about the permitting checklist. That permitting checklist is here under permits. So if you click on permits and you scroll down, we have a checklist for each permit type. So it's broken out by commercial. Here's commercial on the top. And if you click on the plus sign, it expands. So let's say you need to do a change out of an AC. You click on this and it'll tell you exactly what forms you need to submit for the plan review process. And so we have that, for each permit type, and then down here for residential. So this is like the best starting point to submit a complete application package. And then here's the forms, right? He mentions, that the reviewer will say, you need to submit this so-and-so form, but he doesn't know where to find that form. Well, this is where you find forms. So you click here and almost all the forms that we would require would be here, and it's broken down by like application forms, plan review forms, here's roofing, some inspection forms for certificate of occupancy, for violation, recertification. So that's our forms page.
And then within the checklist, it actually, if there's a form required, the link takes you to the form.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're looking at the checklist and you have it open on you can click and it'll open the form that's the required form. So you don't have to keep going back and forth. It is all included in the checklist. That's the idea, that when you're in the form, let's say you say, I'm gonna do an AC change out, what is needed? And then it says you need an application. You click there and it takes you to the application. You don't have to go back to forms and go. So if you go by what is required in there, there's links to all the forms that'll be required for it.
Do you have a question?
Yes, is there any way, I'm good on all that. I got stuck on the re-uploading
The uploading, okay.
new drawings or new forms.
Okay, so that's gonna be in CSS, so I'll show you
Yes.
now, but just really quickly, you mentioned videos for instructions. So if you click here on Online Permitting Resource Center, this is where we have all of our how-to guides, instructional videos, and I think even like when you're talking about re-uploading, submitting corrections, there's a PDF
And
guide
there's a video
here,
there too, how to submit corrections.
how to submit corrections, so there's a video there. But
And all our videos are less than 10 minutes long.
How
I
do you
made him do that.
make it to that screen?
so if you go to the building department page, so miamibeachfl.gov/building, you scroll down, it's this one, Online Permitting Resource Center. That's where you'll find the training guides.
Again, it's a matter of knowledge and time, what we need.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. most of the
It's
time.
knowing where to look.
Yeah.
And that's why we send a tip of the week, and it's not really weekly now, it's kind of every other week, but it'll be something, and it always links you to our page, because the idea is, I don't want to send you information that we don't actually have available. So when we send you information, it's on the page somewhere, and there'll be a link on there showing you where that information is. Because I want you to be able to find it the second time and the third time, not just.
And all of our recordings, we save here in this events and announcements page. All of the recordings like this, when we do a recording session, we post them here under events and announcements. And you can go back and find other ones. All right, so here's next Thursday announcement for that, but we record and post them here. So this is CSS, and this is where you would re-upload things, right?
Yes.
Well, so I imagine you had a specific issue with something, but generally it should be straightforward. You have to be logged in for starters.
Right.
When you're logged in, you want to go to your dashboard. That's where you're going to find all the permits that are linked to you. These are mine. My play ones. Some of them are real, but when you click on my permits, you'll see the list of all your permits. If it's older than 120 days, make sure you update this because it defaults to 120 days. But so let's say, let me see if I can find one that has. Sometimes it takes a minute. So for resubmitting, and this one doesn't have any, but you would go to attachments and you should see a button that says resubmit
Right.
for the file that needs to be resubmitted.
If you use that button and you have to then use all of the resubmit buttons. So if, for example, it says resubmit application and it says resubmit, I don't know, plumbing plans. You must resubmit the application and the plumbing plans using that resubmit button. If you only use one, then it's never gonna let you go to the next step.
I learned that the hard way.
Okay,
So yeah, if like this one only has one resubmit button, but if it has multiple, it doesn't allow you to just upload one. You have to upload all. But so you would click resubmit. Then you have to acknowledge the failed review. So you have, it says all reviews in red must be acknowledged before continuing. So you have to acknowledge for anything that has failed. Once you've acknowledged, then you can click next. And then here it's going to allow you to select the file that you are replacing the previous file with. So select file, find your file. This is someone's permit, so I'm not going to do it, but you can double click.
that's someone's real permit.
And then you would click submit and it'll show you the progress of the download. I will say that we have, hopefully it's fixed now, but there was a problem with large files of greater than 100 megabytes were not loading. They fixed it, so they said.
Yeah, we created a ticket
so-
with the vendor
Right.
and we got back yesterday, I
Yeah.
think, the email or the day before.
Did that fix happen like
Yesterday.
2 weeks ago? Oh, okay,
Just happened.
okay.
It happened, yeah, within the last few days where big, and it was only happening like with big files, like 100 megabytes, and that's pretty big. And that's like a 200-page file, where it wasn't loading, but that shouldn't be happening anymore. If you have that issue, let us know. But yeah, once you hit submit, it'll show you that, okay, this file has loaded to 100%. And then you'll see it, right? When you go back to your attachments, you'll see it there. Right, you'll see the attachment there. It takes a second to load, but you'll see it.
And the plus attachment, if you use the plus, it creates a new record. So when you're using, if you have a plumbing and it says resubmit plumbing, and I'm picking on plumbing because I like, and it says resubmit plumbing, and instead you decide to add an attachment and you do plus and you add a plumbing thing and you call it plumbing and the other one was called plumbing, it's a computer. It doesn't know, it doesn't read, so it doesn't know it's the same file. So unless the human being at intake tells it, this file is replacing this file, the computer is not gonna know that.
So you're always gonna have a resubmit button.
So then you'll keep a resubmit button unless the people that are our intake team go and change it to resubmit it and so they kind of have to fake.
Because you have the option to also upload a new file. We make that available just in case you need to upload something brand new. But if you happen to upload your revision of that plumbing as a new file, that resubmit button is gonna stay there forever because of what, like Sam just said. The system doesn't know that you're resubmitting that.
So unless the
That's,
person,
that's me, right there.
right, unless the
Once you got
insurance
the
person
permit,
tells
got
it, and that's when
issue date
it's
and
back to
expiry.
replace it, because
How
then it
is
keeps your.
The average is
oversight, it keeps
6
it
months
easier for the
or
reviewers.
a year.
It keeps it
The
easier on
average
their
of
side.
how long it takes from application to issue.
No, well, just let me
Permit
go back and
intake.
see, it was the
Looks at
issue date and the
property,
expired
sign it,
date
seal,
of the permit.
They look at.
So this one is still an apply.
Sign and seal it. They look at 200 lines. Your architect does maybe, I don't know,
Okay, there.
Uh-huh.
50.
You have an issue date?
October, you have
They don't wanna swallow
And then
their
expired.
pride.
So it's 6 months.
It's
But
6
what about the
months.
other one that shows?
That's-
the
yeah.
valuation of
Send back a
50,000
screenshot of the
and
mail.
it was
But
almost a year. Right, it's from 6 months to 9.
So if they may have had an extension. So your permit is valid, expiration date for 6 months.
For 6 months.
If, unless you have a past inspection. If you, every time you have a past inspection, it gives you another 6 months to expiration.
What happened here with me, that's what I'm here. The main reason to be here today is this question. I applied for reinstall a new floor here in Maple Beach, and we have the permit. The building was doing big job. The whole building is in maintenance. Now, they are demolishing all the pathway. What happened? I wasn't allowed to work in the 6-month permit that I have. And even if I run for an extension, that's gonna take more than 6 months again. So what happened with my permit? That it's already expired.
Nobody has their hand to review. So we can look into that permit and see what's going on with that.
So if you're not being allowed to, the building's not letting you do the work.
Actually, my permit is already,
Issue.
and it's expired because I didn't run the extension.
Okay, when did the permit expire?
Last month.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll look into that and
Yeah.
see. Any other things you wanna
No,
share? Or anybody on the chat that needs any
Was that helpful?
questions
Yeah.
answered?
She's very good.
yeah, I'm gonna need her email so I can
Yeah, we'll give you her.
walk her a little bit longer than this.
It's okay. To everyone, thank you for joining.
Thank you for joining us. Please, if there's something you think of after this and you think, oh, this was something I would have liked to include, please email me. I think Natasha put my email on the chat, so please email me and, let me know and try to be, if it's very wordy, include a phone number and we can talk. So that it doesn't take me long to figure out what you're saying, and so that we can actually get to the crux of things. And thank you all for participating. I really do appreciate the feedback.
You.
Thank you.
It's